Mr. and Mrs. Khan, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. And I begin by saying how very sorry I am for your loss. And I know I'm speaking for millions of people when I say that. And I hope you could feel that in the response that you got from your appearance last night.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for speaking with us. We are private, ordinary American citizens. This political theater, political drama has heated up a little too much for us. We participated, this was our first convention. We participated just to be there, to be part of the tribute to our son. But thank you for inviting us and talking to us.
Mrs. Ghazala Khan, I would like to speak to you for a moment because I know with our conversations that we've had today that you were very nervous about going to the convention, and you actually were reluctant, didn't really want to go out on the stage, and especially didn't want to speak because you felt you would not be able to keep your composure. And I have to say, I'm just like you. I don't think I would have been able to do what your husband did out there last night. How do you feel now about having gone to the convention and gone out on the stage and seen what an impact it's had?
First of all, I thank all America who listen from their heart to my husband's and my heart, and I'm so grateful for that. And it was very nervous because I cannot see my son's picture when I cannot even come in the room where his pictures are. And that's why when I saw the picture on my bag, I couldn't take it, and I controlled myself at that time. So it is very hard.
I think we all understand that completely, and as parents, it's impossible for us to conceive of what it's like to feel what you've gone through. And Mr. Khan, the comments you made last night, the deciding to speak directly to Donald Trump, why did you choose to do that?
Lawrence, let me be very candid. That was only half of this speech. The rest of the half I'll either tell you tonight or hopefully soon. And that is not addressing Donald Trump or the Democratic Convention. Audience of the rest of this speech is, there are two individuals, and those are someone else. She's my coach. I would think of something that they have asked us to say something, I would say this, and she would say, no, don't say this. So she was my coach, and she was there. I was strengthened by her presence. 40 years of marriage has brought us in a position where we are strength for one another. So her being there was the strength that I could hold my composure. I am much weaker than she is in such matters. So it was her strength that made me stand there and address a candidate for a major party, for the highest office of this country, and nobody has been able to convince this candidate for the highest office of this, the exemplary democracy in the world, to not violate the Constitution of the United States. We have quietly watched his speeches, his bullying, schoolyard bullying, and we have sat, some intelligent people like yourself and others have commented, yet nothing has made the difference. And as I said, that was only half of the conversation that I had, the other half, and I share this with you, and I share this with your audience, the other half is addressed to the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell. What a patriot, decent human being, what a leader he is. And then Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, leading the majority in the United States House of Representatives. What a patriot, decent human being he is. But isn't this time to repudiate Trump, what he has said, what he has threatened to do? This is moral imperative for both leaders to say to him that enough. You are about to sink the ship of the patriot Republicans. Republicans are as patriotic as Democrats are. They are half of the goodness of this beautiful country, half of this political process that rest of the world watches enviously, learns from it. They have disagreed with his practices, his threats to minorities, disrespect to the legal system, legal institutions. I want to ask them, if your candidate, and I wish this would get to their ears, and I will continue to ask this question, if your candidate wins and he governs the way he has campaigned, my country, this country will have constitutional crisis that never before in the history of this country. And my conscience compels me under these very difficult circumstances, very raw emotions. I am a very composed person. I don't become that emotional in public discourse. But there is so much at stake. And I appeal to both of these leaders. This is the time, there comes a time in the history of a nation where an ethical, moral stand has to be taken, regardless of the political cost. The only reason they are not repudiating this, his behavior, his threat to our democracy, our decency, our foundation, is just because of political consequences. I hope I answered your question. I'm sorry that I answered it long-winded way, but the stakes are very high.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you to do. When you said that half of what you wanted to say was left unsaid, I wanted to make sure that you completed that. And Mrs. Khan, let me ask you about how you and your husband chose to come to America. You began life in Pakistan. You moved to the United Arab Emirates for a bit, but then you chose to come to the United States with and you at that point had two of your sons. Mrs. Khan, how did you make that decision? Why did you choose the United States?
I think at that time, my husband had to get his study done and complete his study, so the best in our eyes, in world's eyes, was United States of America, to come here and study. When we came here, and he has gone to finish his degree, and I was staying home with the kids, and I had very good friends, all American, all colors, and everyone was there, and they supported me, and they have given me a courage and love that I think is best in this country than I could have found anywhere else. So we decided to settle here for our children, for their future.
Mr. and Mrs. Khan, please stay with us. We're going to take a little break here, and when we come back, I want to talk more about your son. I want America to learn more about him. We're back here on The Last Word with Ghazala Khan and her husband, Khizr Khan. They are the proud parents of Army Captain Humayun Khan, who was killed in action in Iraq. Mr. and Mrs. Khan, I want to talk about your son and hear more about him. I know that from things that I've read that you were a little surprised when he decided to join ROTC when he was in college, and he was joining a peacetime military at that time where there was no trouble on the horizon. And tell us about what he told you about why he wanted to join the United States Army.
Okay, then.
Okay. She asked me to explain. He was already admitted to University of Virginia, and he would meet in different circles members of the ROTC, and they were his classmates, and he would clearly see the difference in their discipline, in their character, in their dealing with one another, and that impressed him very much. He was a wonderful and deliberate person in his spirit. And he told us that he finds it very attractive that he would join ROTC because that fits into his vision, his way of living a student life, disciplined, organized, doing things with honor, with dignity. And we were surprised in a way, but then, of course, we always instructed our children and told them this is our wish, that they would pursue wholeheartedly whatever they would do. So did his elder brother and his younger brother, and Humayun did the same thing.
And Mrs. Khan, how did you feel, first of all, how did he feel, and how did you feel, when he was ordered to Iraq? He had already completed his service to the military, but he was called back for service to be ordered to Iraq. How did he feel about that, and what was your reaction to it?
I was really worried, and I talked to him about all this, that this is a war, and I don't want you to go out or do something stupid, and don't be a hero. Please come back and go safely. My prayers are with you, and be strong. So he told me, Mom, I have a responsibility that I cannot deny. I have to be taking care of my soldiers because they depend on me. But still I was keep telling him, be safe and don't become hero for me. Just be my son. Come back as a son. He came back as a hero.
Mr. Khan, what was your reaction when your son shipped off to Iraq?
I had a conversation with him. I asked him, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? You have completed your tour of duty. Can we do something so they don't send you? Of course, as a parent, as a father, knowing the burdens of war, burden of conflict, I was worried about his safety, his well-being. And he said to me, he said, I am committed to making sure the unit relies on me. They depend on my guidance to them, my support, my taking care of them. So I will do this tour, and then my tour of duty will be complete, and my service will be complete, and I will come back and I will go to law school. Seeing that composure, seeing that peace in his voice, in his decision, heartened me that the rest is in God's hands, and so we sent him.
And Mrs. Khan, what was your last conversation with your son when he was in Iraq?
He called me on Mother's Day in May of 2004. And that's what just I was telling him, don't go out of your camp, just stay in. And he had made lots of Muslim friends there, Iraqi. They used to come and work for them in the Bakuba camp. So he said, "Oh, don't worry, Mom, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm just taking care of my people, that's it. I'm not doing anything, I'm just taking care of them." So he really, whatever he was saying, taking care of them, he did. He took care of everyone that day.
And Mr. Khan, what was your last conversation with your son when he was in Iraq?
It was a telephone conversation, and I asked him that, look, you have completed your tour of duty. You have been honorable to your promise that you made to the military. Can we not get you back now? And he said, Baba, my sons call me Baba, and he said that, first, I have this commitment of my unit. I want to make sure that I complete that. Second, Army has a stop-loss policy that up until the tour of duty of the entire unit is complete, I will not be able to leave them here. So just pray that all goes well, and I will be careful, and I have to take care of my soldiers, and the rest will be fine. So I gave him my best wishes, and I told him to be strong and come back. And that was the last conversation I had.
Hillary Clinton told your son's story, the story of what happened to him in Iraq last night in that video, and she talked about those 10 steps, those final 10 steps of his life that he took to protect his fellow soldiers. What do you think made him take those 10 steps?
Lawrence, as father and as a parent to a brave soldier, I can think of nothing but the goodness that this person had, the care, the kindness our son had in his heart, in his being, that his commanders, his fellow soldiers have told us that they only have read in history books a person so caring that he fully realized what is about to take place at that gate. And he extends his hand. First, he tells his soldiers to hit the ground. And there were hundreds of Iraqis at the gate also, and they went down as well. And then he moves, fully knowing he was a trained military officer. He knew the danger. He extended his hand towards the oncoming car, trying to stop it, and took 10 steps so that he would make sure that that car does not hit the gate or the walls and caused prematurely. That defines that moment. He lost his life, but that defined him, that how giving, how caring, how decent he was. And believe me, he came to this country only 2 years old, and the rest was made right here. We are testament to the goodness. He was testament to what he learned in school, in college, in this society, in this country, its values and all that, prepared him to take those 10 steps. And I wish the results would have been different. And when I was informed of his death, few days I couldn't believe that this has happened to such a decent human being. I kept hoping and waiting that chaplains will come back and will tell us, we apologize, we made a mistake. It was total denial, couldn't comprehend, couldn't imagine that such a wonderful, caring, kind, thoughtful human being would not be among us. But it was for worthy cause. As a result, he saved hundreds of American soldiers that were on the other side of the wall, and hundreds of Muslims. Approximately, we are told the number of the people that were outside was about 300 local Muslims that were about to enter the gates to do the day's work, and soldiers were getting ready to have breakfast and then go out of there. We are blessed with his light. We learn from him every day, and we are grateful that we had him for 27 years.
Mrs. Khan, just a final question. Donald Trump's children last week said at the convention that their father, Donald Trump, has sacrificed a lot to run for president. What would you like to say to Americans like them about what real sacrifice really is?
Well, only one thought comes to mind is that to sacrifice, you don't have to wear the uniform to sacrifice. We all, as patriots, can sacrifice and do sacrifice. And sacrifice includes not threatening others, not making others feel less. Sacrifice includes considering the rest of your patriot citizens equal, same, not causing them to worry about their existence, worry about their being in the United States. He has done nothing, no sacrifice. And because he does not have that concept in his mind, we have watched quietly and peacefully his behavior, his expression, his children's behavior, their expression about him. He may be a wonderful father, but he is not suitable, not fit for even for the candidacy of this stewardship that he is seeking. Therefore, he may be a wonderful father, but we don't see any glimpse of any sacrifice, glimpse of any consideration, any thoughtfulness in his behavior.
Mrs. Khan, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. I know how difficult this is for you. I really appreciate it. And Mr. Khan, thank you for joining us and completing the thoughts that you presented last night at the convention. Mr. and Mrs. Khan, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.